So excited. What a great day this has been. Audience, thank you so much. Our next guest is the Tidal Wetlands Director here in the Monterey Bay, Monique Fountain. Please, let's welcome Monique, everyone. Real briefly, our camera crew has disappeared for the day. We just have the wonderful camera in the Army bus. So we'll be enjoying our studio audience through that lens. So do remember to take a peek and say hi to our audience out there. So I understand you are the Tidal Wetlands Director, easy for me to say.
Yes, I am. I've been working at Elkhorn Slough at the reserve for about 10 years.
Wonderful, but I also understand that today you're not talking about that.
No, today I'm talking about my Toastmasters experience.
So what in the world is a Toastmasters experience?
Well, I started Toastmasters. Toastmasters is where you learn to do public speaking in a very supportive environment, and you learn leadership skills. So when I started my job at the slough, I was promoted into a director position, and I realized I didn't have the skills to do my job. I was afraid to get up in front and talk in front of people, and it was terrifying. And I thought I had great leadership skills, but I've since learned a lot more about leadership by being here in Toastmasters. And in fact, my previous company, I used to work for McGraw-Hill, and they would offer $1,000 to every employee that went through Toastmasters. $1,000, yes. I went to one meeting and I said, it's not worth it. That's how scared I was.
I take it. So you're telling us that you have no idea who is on that $1,000 bill?
I have no idea.
It's Grover Cleveland, but go ahead. I'd have taken it.
That's how frightened I was to speak in public.
Then the next thing I understand is you went from being terrified to being a chicken.
I did. That was my first speech. My first speech in Toastmasters was about chickens, because I was trying to figure out a way to have notes without having notes. So I made this fun thing where I described words about myself, because the first speech is an icebreaker, and I had all these different words, and I pasted them up on the wall, and in the end, the first letters spelled chickens. And it was a way for me to have notes without, I was kind of cheating a little bit, but it worked, and it gave me confidence.
So what else is involved with Toastmasters? I understand something called Table Topics. Tell us about that.
Table Topics is a little bit like what we're doing right now. You ask a question, and you have to come up with an answer. You have no idea what the question is, but you do know the theme. And so you have a chance to practice your impromptu skills.
What would be a for instance?
Well, I think the for instance is what we're doing right now, if I'm not acting completely like a buffoon.
Well, I did understand something about dancing, and you came up with something about whales.
Oh, that's the table. Yes, I understand what you're saying. But I relayed a story to you some time ago about one of the tricks I have with table topics. And this is a lot of fun, because table topics in the beginning can be quite terrifying. But what I would do at the beginning of each meeting is I would see what the theme was, and then I would think on the drive in about some story related to that theme. I forgot to do it this day, but somebody asked me a question about dancing, and I think it was Carl. And he asked me a question about my favorite type of dancing, or what I don't dance. But I was rushing on my way back from going whale watching with my colleagues, and we had just seen these incredible blue whales out there. So I talked about the dancing blue whales, and I won Table Topics.
Well,
Good trick.
Fantastic, very good. Also evaluating, you evaluate someone?
Right, evaluating in Toastmasters is a really important skill. It was one of the things I think I was most afraid of when I started. It's one thing to get up and talk to people, but it's another thing to sit in a room that everybody's heard the talk, and then you get up and you critique it. So I was so afraid, and I still am. I'm always worried I'm going to miss the main point that everybody else got. And that's why I think, and being able to do it in a constructive way, I think you don't realize when you provide critique, it's so important to give good, positive feedback, and you can do that. Toastmasters teaches you how to do that. It just completely changed how I approached it.
So let me understand, you're evaluating the other speakers, and there's something called a prepared speech, and that's what you would be
Right.
evaluating?
Yes. That's what we evaluate.
So who can be a Toastmaster?
Anybody can be a Toastmaster. Everybody should be a Toastmaster. Drink the Kool-Aid.
Well, if I drank the Kool-Aid, which I don't particularly care for Kool-Aid, but there are some other beverages I could enjoy with you after the show, as long as we're not drinking and driving, of course. Let me understand that being a Toastmaster, you're at the Naval Postgraduate School, so that's got to be a little trickier.
It's a little tough to get in. It took me about 6 months. I was rejected by the FBI when I first tried to get in here, but
Well, that's got to be a great story.
with Arnie's help and fingerprints and a big file, I made it in.
So if you pass, if you're, I guess we're being vetted,
Yes.
that you can be a Toastmaster.
Yeah, you can be a Toastmaster here in this club, and I've been in this club the entire time. I chose this club because I wanted to be in a club that was more professional, because I need to develop those skills to operate in a professional setting, to do interviews, to talk to the media, to do presentations, and this is the club that I thought would give me those skills.
So you're sharing to all of us in TV land that you went from a chicken who wouldn't take $1,000 to a woman sitting on a television show with moi, and you're not terrified in the least.
I'm not showing it, I know how to.
Well, I am impressive, so there's that.
You are.
Thank you so much for that. So you are nearly a DTM,
One more speech after this.
and that is a what?
Accepting, what is a DTM?
No, yes.
A Distinguished Toastmaster. This is one of the clubs that has the most number of Distinguished Toastmasters in it, and they have all provided a true inspiration for me. It was never, as Tatiana mentioned last week, it's not a goal to be a DTM, but it's a practice, and it allows us, it teaches us to succeed in the real world. I think that was really well put.
Fantastic. So to get a hold of you, let's see.
I don't know.
It's not happening. It's not happening. Well, to get a hold of you, how would we do that?
You can
Oh,
call.
there we go. There we go. I knew our crew is the best crew.
Check
We
in
have
at
the best crew.
NPS Toastmasters.
We would contact Monique Fountain, nearly a DTM, past president, vice president, education, area director, outstanding speaker at
NPS Toastmasters.
Perfect. Thank you, Monique. It was a lovely pleasure.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for joining us.